Good morning, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So wanted to get started on the stats here and what's going on with that. The single-family homes, there were 408 that sold this last week, and that's from June 16th to the 22nd, and 456 the week before. The median price is $430,000, which is, consistent with what our range is generally. And the inventory increased again 121, so now it sits at 6823. So breaking that all down, of those 408 homes, 28 of them were under 250, 29 between 250 and 300, 98 between 300 and 400, 105 between 400 and 500, 116 between 500 and a million, and 32 over a million. So as I've been saying, the ones on the lower end there, they really are decreasing the number that are selling. So all the way up to 350. So under 250, up to 300. So anything 300 and below was basically 58 houses, 57 houses actually, and 98 between 300 and 400. So the number in those lower price ranges is definitely going down. The inventory in those price ranges is also very consistent in regards to where that's at as well. The overall inventory is at 3.86. Under 250, it's at 2.97, 2.73, 250 to 300, 2.93, 300 to 400, 3.18, 400 to 5, 5.25, 500 to a million, and 5.69 over a million. Now, the other thing that I always look at is the list at sale price, and overall it's at 97.22. It's at 93.39 under 250, so quite a bit of work usually on those houses under 250. 98.63, 250 to 300. Then we're at 98.65, 98.51, 97.79, and then we end up over a million at 94.93. So pretty consistent in regards to what happens. So the ones that are over a million have quite a bit more negotiating room, as well as under 250 is basically, what we're looking at. Now, if we're looking at the condos, townhomes, and villas, there were 131 that sold last week, down from 151 the week before. The price increased to 280, so that is up quite a bit. So closer to 275 to 280, I think, is where our new norm is. And the inventory increased by 23 to 3363 when we're looking at that. So not near as many condos, townhomes, and villas sell, but under 250, there were 51 of the 131, 19 between 250 and 300, 29 between 300 and 400, 20 between 400 and 500, 11 between 500 and a million, and 1 over a million. So looking at the inventory, kind of similar, it's at 5.92. Under 250 was at 5.34. It's 5.60, 250 to 300, 7.09, 300 to 400. Then we're at 5.61, 6.82, and over a million's at 4.38. So a normal market is generally between 4 and 6 months. So we're kind of there in the condos, townhomes, and villas market, just right over it. So that's what you would consider a normal market. Under that 4 months, we're in a seller's market, and then over the 6 months, it's a buyer's market. It's kind of rough figures, but that's just the overall market in Central Florida. If we're really looking at it, you have to look at each individual neighborhood and see what's going on there, because they do vary a little bit, but it gives us an idea. The list to ask price, though, is still really healthy for the condos, townhomes, and villas. It's at 97.07% overall. Under 250 was at 95.56. Then we go to 97.02, 97.69, 98.82, 96.96, and over a million was 92.11. So again, really similar to the single family homes when that comes down to it. The average days from listing to contract in the condos, townhomes, and villas, we're sitting at 61. And when we're looking at the single family homes, we're looking at 53. So basically, they're similar, but if your budget is a little bit less, a lot of people think that they do want to go into that condo, townhome, or villa because they can save some money there. There are usually higher HOA fees or condo fees that come involved in that too. So sometimes, even though the price is less, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, for the particular buyer that they're going to get a lesser monthly payment. But it's all something to look at and to consider and everything. And so it just comes down to finding out what's best for you and your family and how that all works. And a lot of people don't want to have all of the maintenance, and so they want to depend on the condo association to take care of that for them, which they definitely will. So that's something that you can look at and everything when push comes to shove as well. So basically, I have quite a few other things, obviously, to go over with everybody right now. And one of the things that I found interesting was an article on cracks in the walls. Because when I'm working with buyers, a lot of times they're looking at them and they're going, gosh, is this something that I need to be concerned about? And my response is always, let's talk to the home inspector and see, and all of that kind of thing. I have been told by multiple home inspectors that if you can hold a coin on end, like a quarter or a nickel, and the crack is smaller than that, that's just normal settling generally. And if it gets bigger than that, then that might be something that you want to pay attention to. But this talks about that not all cracks are the same, and learn how to separate minor cosmetic imperfections from more significant structural problems. So the first type of wall crack that you'll know about is obviously the hairline crack. And these are just like spider web, like little hairline cracks, less than a millimeter wide, about the width of a human hair. And they're the most common drywall cracks. They can appear during a home's normal settling process or after minor fluctuations in temperatures and humidity. And so, I know that every time that I'm getting ready to paint the outside of my house, there's always hairline cracks that exist out there, and they have to be, fixed at that point in time. And it's really not a big deal. They're usually caused by settling. As a house settles into its foundation, slight shifts can lead to minor cracks in the drywall or plaster. Temperature changes, seasonal temperature variations cause building materials to expand and contract, which is why the outside stuff happens, I believe. And then the humidity changes in humidity levels can cause drywall or plaster to contract or expand as well. So you want to monitor the crack weekly for any growth, measure it, patch it, and repaint the hairline crack using joint compound, which is a paste made of gypsum powder and other binders that can spread onto the crack, and sand it when it's dry. So those are pretty simple and all of that kind of thing. So the next one are vertical cracks, and the level of urgency is low to moderate when you have those. These cracks often result from foundation settlement. Vertical cracks travel straight up and down following the line where the wall meets the floor. They can vary in size. They generally pose minimal concern if there are no significant increase in length or width. However, vertical cracks need to be assessed once they're greater than 5 millimeters wide. If the crack is close enough to the ground and easily accessible, use a ruler to measure its width. For higher cracks, mark either side with a pencil and then monitor the distance over time. And if you detect dampness or widening cracks, seek professional help. So obviously that's something that you want to look at and everything as well. And what those cracks can be caused by is settling. Both newer and older homes can experience settling into their foundation, and temperature changes, and the urgency of addressing a vertical crack largely depends on its size. So I'll finish the rest of these in the next break, or after the next break. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, the host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and in order to reach us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I was talking about cracks in the walls. So, basically when you shouldn't ignore them and look at them and that kind of thing. So you need to know kind of what's going on. And we already covered the hairline cracks that aren't really a big deal. The vertical cracks usually is low to moderate, and you just have to monitor it and see if they're expanding, and then you might need to do something about it at that pace. If you've got horizontal cracks, the level of urgency is high. They run along the wall plane, can be a serious sign of foundation issues and potential structural drywall cracks. These cracks are often the result of structural movement as expansive soils build up against the foundation wall, and they will progressively widen without proper care, potentially causing complete wall failure. So, obviously, kind of a big deal. So you want to consult a professional for any horizontal crack, regardless of its width. This urgency is because of horizontal cracks signify movement or pressure on the foundation walls. Early detection and intervention are crucial to preventing further damage. They can be caused by foundation movement, like we talked about, and also by moisture. Factors such as moisture problems or changes in water drainage around the house can contribute to the foundation movement and horizontal cracking. So these are inside the house is what we're talking about, our wall cracks. So action to take: consult a foundation specialist or structural engineer for professional assessment. The professional should be able to help diagnose the cause of the crack and recommend the most appropriate course of action, which may involve foundation repair or structural reinforcement. So something not to mess with, because obviously if you do have that kind of a problem, you don't want to make it worse and then have some really big bills where it could be probably minimal at the beginning. So diagonal cracks run at an angle on the wall from corner to corner, slanted at a 45-degree angle compared to the vertical wall plane. These cracks, regardless of size, need immediate attention from a professional as well. Early intervention is key, since diagonal cracks are a sign of foundation settlement, often a result of the earth pushing on the concrete wall. Early detection and intervention are crucial to preventing more extensive damage to your foundation and the overall structure integrity of your home. So it could be caused by poor soil compactions when they did that, the change in the moisture content, or inadequate drainage or poor drainage. So contact a foundation specialist or structural engineer as soon as possible for a professional assessment. So basically the hairline, the vertical aren't really a big deal, but the other kinds are. Cracks are most commonly caused by expansion and contraction of building materials. It occurs due to changes in moisture content and temperature. The minor shifts can lead to hairline cracks in the drywall or plaster, especially in newer homes during the first few years. Construction imperfections may also be a contributing factor. For instance, improperly taped drywall joints or shrinkage in concrete foundation walls can lead to cracks. Further, leaks in the roof, plumbing, and poor ventilation can lead to moisture buildups in walls, causing cracks as well. So homeowners should be on the lookout for any moisture present to help prevent water damage and further structural damage. And not all cracks are equal. The size and location of wall cracks are key factors to consider. Large cracks wider than 5 millimeters, which, like I've always said, from my understanding, if it's like a nickel or a quarter standing up, would probably be those 5 millimeters. And I don't know that for sure, but I'm just guessing. The cracks could indicate foundation movement, stress on structural supports, or settling issues. Have professionals evaluate in these cases. The presence of multiple cracks, especially if they are clustered together in a specific area, all calls for action. This suggests that there could be a widespread problem that requires professional evaluation. So basically the bottom line is, don't mess around with it. If you run into it and you see that you've got a lot of cracks that aren't the hairline kind and not the vertical kind, then you definitely want to get help as soon as you can, just to make sure that it doesn't get worse and minimize the amount of problems that you're going to have. And obviously that just makes sense and all of that kind of good stuff. So next in line in regards to what we're going to be talking about today is that I wanted to talk about basically there's quite a few things that come into the affordability of housing and everything that people are always talking about and considering and looking at and everything. So there were a couple of things that I saw that basically people are looking at, adult children living with parents and that kind of stuff. And how does that all work? And how is that going to work long term and everything? Because, if the kids have moved out or they've gotten married and they've gone to college and then they come back, then definitely, it's a little bit different than when they were younger and all of that. So you have to look at all of these things to help make it successful is what they're saying. So they're looking in cohabitation and multi-generational households. They often live with family members or multiple roommates. And some things that you want to look at is educational attainment, rise of the academically ambitious. So most 40% of those aged 25 to 29 have at least a bachelor's degree. This is a significant leap from 24% of their 1990s counterparts. So higher education is still a viable pathway to success in an increasing competitive global economy. So academic gender disparities persist. Today, young women outpace their male counterparts. Among adults aged 25 to 34, 47% of the women have obtained a bachelor's degree compared to 38% of the men. So the evolving workforce dynamic drive of this divergence as women increasingly assume leadership roles and propel multi-industry motivation. The next thing that comes into place here are employment patterns, that you have to look at the labor market and how that's all going to work. People are looking to balance their debt and have financial independence. And then the relationship dynamics, redefining traditional norms. More often, expectations and traditional norms are markedly unimportant to today's young adults. Modern young adults opt to delay or sideline marriage and parenthood. Only 7% of those aged 18 to 24 are married, a stark contrast to the 18% recorded 3 decades ago. Marriage among young adults aged 25 to 29 plummeted from 50% in 1993 to 29% today. So that's something that is different that's going on and everything too. So basically, the young adults and all of that are looking at, what is their best way to do it when it comes to personal growth and thriving in all of the things. And I know that everybody has probably heard that the housing prices have definitely shot up there. So it's really difficult for a lot of younger people to get houses and that kind of thing. I know that my first property I bought when I was 25 years old. So basically in doing that, I would think that that would be great for everybody, but everybody can't afford it. Now, I did just work with a gentleman who's about that age, and he got his first house. We found him a new build, and he's happy as a clam in there. He's actually going to be getting some roommates and that kind of stuff to live with him. He can afford it on his own, but he would prefer to have a roommate or two that can kind of help him out with the bills. And so he's doing that, but he got a brand new home and excited as all get out to do it. And it was sure a pleasure to help him, navigate through those waters. So when it comes down to it, there's definitely things that everybody can do. So you just have to be open to the possibilities, and we can help you with those. You may not want to buy a house with somebody, but maybe you could rent out a room like this gentleman that I helped do that about a month or so ago. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we will see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. In order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So I was talking about Gen Z and how they're looking at housing differently and what they can do and everything a little bit different because the houses are not as affordable as they were a few years ago. The prices have gone up, but the interest rates have gone up too. And the housing prices going up really wasn't a problem when the interest rates were lower, but now that the interest rates are a little bit higher, it makes it a little more difficult for some people to qualify. And so as a result of that, maybe people go to the outskirts a little bit more, where there are more affordable houses. So they might go to the suburbs or a different community. And then one of the things that they might do is they might get roommates or look at different ways of making it work. One of the things that I found an article about are ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units, and they're a popular living option and possibly one way to combat the affordable housing crisis, particularly in expensive areas. And so what this is the accessory dwelling unit, which would be like an in-law suite. It would be, something along those lines. And there are a few communities in Central Florida that they're quite prevalent and that they're out there. For example, in Celebration, there are quite a few garage apartments that are whole independent units over a 2-car garage or a 3-car garage. Some of them, I've seen a couple of them over 1-car garages, and they're just kind of studios, but they do have all of the elements. They've got the bathroom, they've got the kitchen and the family room / bedroom, and that kind of stuff. Over a 2-car garage, you can have a bedroom and then the main living areas and everything a little bit separate. And it's surprising how much and how efficient they can be. They're very open floor plans and that. In some other areas that I've seen in courtyard homes, they actually have another unit in there that when you're going in, a lot of times they've got a pool in that courtyard area, and on the one side is a pool home or like an accessory dwelling unit, and then the other the main house is a little bit separate that has a different entrance and everything out there too. So there are those kinds of units that are out there that if you're interested in that might make sense. And in Reunion, actually, they have a lot of them there as well. A lot of garage apartments they have kind of in Reunion. But there are different places on all sides of the area. If you're on the north side, the south side, the east, or the west, where I do know of a few of them everywhere. So there's not a lot of them, but there are a few of them. And so basically, they're a popular living option and possibly one way to combat the affordable housing crisis, particularly in expensive areas. So Gen Z, they're too young to remember the rent is high from 2005. However, they're likely to appreciate the spirit. So basically, rental rates, what's going on with them is that they have kind of stabilized. They're not going up significantly like they were a couple of years ago, but they are stabilized. They aren't really going down. I think that they said that the rents have gone down an average of $6 a month, and that's it. So the good news is that they've gone down, but $6 is $6, but not a huge decrease. I'm sure people would like to see $100 or a couple $100 decrease, but $6 is kind of what's going on right there. So there, that I know that there are some companies, and I know who some of them are, that actually will build these units on your property if that's something that you're looking for, the ADUs. And so you could have an additional unit that you rent out, or you could have an additional unit, for a family member or something for them to live in and have their own space, and probably rent it to them and that kind of thing too. But basically, they definitely do exist out there. There are a few of them in our neck of the woods, but not a ton of them. but I do know of several of them that do exist out there. And so it just is something that is of the future. And I actually had a client that he owned a condo and then he owned a house. And what he did is he said, I'm going to build one of these ADUs above his garage. And he got all the permitting, got it all done and everything like that, and then sold the condo. And he was actually making more money on his ADU than he was percentage-wise than he was making on the condo when all of his expenses and everything were done. So it was a great way for him to do that. Now, if you're going to have that on your house and it's somebody that you don't know or you're renting to a stranger or something like that, sometimes they have like the entrances and everything to the alley or a separate entrance that you're not going to see them in your backyard and that kind of thing. When it comes down to it, you know, you also have to determine where they're going to park and what they're doing. Are they sharing the garage or what are you planning on doing with that? So that's another issue that you have to look at, but it's definitely an alternative and something to look at. And at the time that this gentleman was doing it, which was a couple of years ago, I think it was exactly about 2 years ago, it cost him, he told me $125,000 to build that ADU onto his property. Just increased the garage had a second story now, and that was where his ADU was. And so that's, you know, kind of what the scoop is, but it would be difficult to find a property that you could buy for $125,000, $150,000. So if the zoning rules and everything are okay with it, then it might be an option for you. And all of the counties have their own zoning rules on that in regards to where they can be, how much land there needs to be. And as one example, I know one of the counties, the main house has to be at least a third of the size bigger than the accessory house. And so there's a lot of zoning rules, and the best thing to do is to actually contact your county where you want to do it and see what the rules are. But we're happy to help you if that's something that you want. And if you're looking for a builder that does that kind of thing, we definitely know, you know, who they are out there and can get you in touch with them, and happy to do so, and all of that kind of good stuff too. So basically, you know, the bottom line is that everybody has their own particular thing that they want to do when it comes to housing, and we're here to help you in whatever way that we can to make sure that you get the best deal and you get exactly, you know, what you're looking for. And so another thing that I found out there that I found interesting, it was talking more on a national level because I haven't really seen it a lot here in Central Florida, but green features are important to buyers, and that's nationwide. I don't work with a lot of buyers that tell me that it is. I mean, if it's got new windows and all of that kind of thing, I mean, they're happy about that, but they don't want to pay more money for those kinds of things. And that's what this article is saying. In some areas of the country, that the green features are actually increasing the value of the home. And the only thing that might do some of that would be solar panels a little bit, because everybody knows how expensive they are and what they cost. And basically when it comes to an appraisal value on them, they do have a lifespan of, I think, 25 years, and they depreciate them over the years. So you can tell kind of what the scoop is on that. So that's something that some people want, and some people don't want anything at all to do with them. But that would be the only thing that comes to mind for me. I mean, energy efficiency, efficient appliances obviously is a plus, but when it comes down to it, I haven't seen a lot of people that are willing to pay more for those particular features in a house than not. So just something to know. And, you know, I'm always for, if you want to do something for your house, do it for you. And then when you go to sell it, you got your use out of it and all of that. But there are some things that you need to do in order to have your sell your house for top dollar. I'm not going to deny that at all. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Peterson from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. I am the host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. And in order to get in touch with us to sell your home, you can just go ahead and give us a call or text at 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one of the things that I ran into, that it says that more than half of luxury home buyers would be unlikely to make an offer on a home with an outdated kitchen. They want kitchen islands and upgraded appliances. And this is true, that when it comes to luxury buyers, when it comes to what they want to do, is that generally they do want to come into that house and make it their own, and they're going to tear some things out and maybe change the flooring, the paint colors. Maybe they're going to change the kitchen, the bathrooms, tear out walls, all of those things. I find that usually they spend about 10% at least of what they've spent on the house in doing these things. But they still want the house to be in working condition and something that they can live with when they are first coming into the property. They don't want to come into immediately, I've got to do this. They want to say, hey, I can do this over time, or I can do it in the next month, or I can do it in the next year or 5 years, whatever it is. So basically it comes down to that they are looking for that. And in our market, and when I was talking about the inventory and everything that is out there, for the over 1 million houses in Central Florida, and there's just a handful that sell every week. Like 32 out of the 408 is what sold last month, or last week. I'm sorry, last week is what sold. There were but the inventory is getting high on that. It's at 5.69, 789 properties that are listed that are over 1 million, and 32 for the week. So if you take 32 times 4, roughly, then you're at like 128 houses a month of the 789 that are selling. So there are choices out there for people, are my point. And so you do have to put your best foot forward. And there are some things that they really want to see that they're looking for. And so, like I said, they don't want to pay $1 million for a house and then have to come in and gut the place. I mean, there are certain houses, then certain people that will do that, but it's not the norm. So open floor plans are the most desirable overall home trend, and outdated kitchens are the biggest turnoff for luxury buyers. More than half of the home buyers would be unlikely to make an offer on a luxury home if it had outdated kitchen, and that makes an outdated kitchen the biggest turnoff for buyers, followed by a lack of curb appeal, 48%, outdated bathrooms, 44%, and popcorn ceilings, 40%. I just experienced that. I have a condo that I have on the market, and this lady was coming in paying cash, and that was a huge turnoff for her. I mean, this property has been used as a rental and stuff in the past, and it was built in the 90s, and popcorn ceilings were pretty consistent then, but for her it was a definite no, and that's something that she wanted. So basically you want to make sure that you've got that done, and landscaping is the most sought after outdoor feature, and nearly 7 in 10, 69% luxury home buyers say landscaping is a must-have feature, followed by the indoor-outdoor living space, 58%. Still, buyers are less likely to rank outdoor features as must-haves more than kitchens or bathroom amenities. Over half of the home buyers say that the climate-friendly and energy-efficient features, such as solar-powered lights, solar panels, and drought-resistant landscaping, are not on the priority list when it comes to their backyard. So, again, they just want things nice in the way that they want them, and that's all good. And so you have to know that if you're putting your house on the market, that there are certain things that people expect, certain things you can get away with, and certain things you can't. And in this particular market where the inventory is increasing and we're heading towards that normal market and have been for quite some time, what that means is that people have choices. So your house could sit there if you don't have everything up to date. If, you're asking too much money, it's definitely a no-no in this market for sure. And so I just always caution everybody to make sure that you're aware that you could do these little things and it would make a huge difference in the sale of your home. And that's basically, what the bottom line is and how it all works. And, basically when there is a lot of inventory out there or more inventory out there and buyers do have choices, the first thing that they're going to look at are those amenities. And so amenities don't always bring in more money, but the thing that they do is that they make your house sell faster. So if you're in a position and you're thinking, gosh, I really would like to sell my house, but there's a lot of things I need to do. We actually have companies that we work with that will get paid at the closing table, that they're willing to do the things that need to be done to increase the value of your home. They're very competitive in regards to rates, and they know that, they specialize in doing this. And so it's just something that if you're interested in, then we're more than happy to talk to you about it. There's no obligation ever, but just something for you to consider and look at and see if it's the right situation for you. So we're coming to the point in the show where we're going to go over our house of the week. And this is actually a new build. There is a community. It's actually in Winter Haven, Haines City. It's kind of on the border there. And basically, it's a brand new construction home. They're offering 5.99% interest. And they're also offering, $20,000 in closing costs, I believe, or somewhere thereabouts. So don't quote me 100% on that, but I can find you somebody with a 20% on $20,000 on closing costs. But basically, they're trying to unload the last two properties in this community. Now, the good news about that is that what that means is that the community is very settled and everything. And so if you're the last one in a new home community, I think that that's definitely a bonus because you're not going to be competing against the builder. If somebody wants in that inventory, now they do have to buy resale. And so if they're putting in 1,000 houses and you're number 21, you're going to be competing against the builder for a few years until they get that whole thing built out. And so you're going to have to undercut the builder because somebody could get a brand new house that nobody's ever lived in and that kind of thing. And so that's kind of what happens. So if you do want a new construction and you do want to close out, and because it's a closeout, they have some great deals on it. Like I said, the 5.99% financing. And these two houses, the only reasons that they're available is because the buyer qualified at one point when they were building the house, and now they no longer qualify, and the houses are complete, and the builder needs to unload them. So they're ready to unload them at a great price. So if that's something that you're interested in, please get in touch with us, and we will definitely help you out with that. But I just wanted to, as we say, we're getting to the end of the show, and this is 4th of July week, so I just wanted to wish everybody a very happy, healthy, fun 4th of July, and hope you enjoy it. We are actually going to be in the parade in Celebration. That's at 9 o'clock on the 4th of July, so if you're in town and want to come down and watch it, I know in the evening in Celebration they're doing the fireworks, and there's fireworks all over, so you don't necessarily, you can pick and choose where you want to go for that, but we are definitely participating in the parade again this year in Celebration, and that starts at 9 o'clock, and so I'd love to see any of you guys out there and wave and all of that kind of good stuff, and, say hi would be great. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.